Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about the Chinese probe. Yes, they had another successful Chang-e Space probe, and the Space Return Shuttle just landed in Mongolia on the 25th of June last month. Now they recovered 2 kilograms of lunar soil and rock. And this is not just from the moon, this is the far side of the moon. You see, they've been to the far side of the moon, and this time they went back to collect some samples. The Chinese obviously been to the near side of the moon, they've got some samples, they brought it back, and this time they used highly sophisticated technology to actually use this robotic arm to basically delve into the ground and collect the lunar soil and the space rock. But the cool thing about this arm is they also left a mark that says Chongguo, which means Chinese in English. They also planted a Chinese flag on the far side of the moon, and that just shows that the Chinese are on their way to become the leading space exploration country with all the technology and the successful probes. You see, here's another thing. As they returned, they invited a lot of scientists from around the world, 18 countries to be precise, like Spain, the UK, a lot of countries, Canada, 18 countries. But there's one country that didn't make it. And that country, of course, is America. You see, as the Chang-6 returner module landed in Inner Mongolia, NASA and America started to fire off shots and complaining, asking them to share the soil with them, that they can also do some, science on this soil, investigation. But you see, the Chinese can't. And you might ask, why is that? Are the Chinese angry at America? Well, yeah, of course they're angry, but that's got nothing to do with it. You see, what's happening here is back in 2011, Franklin, I'm not sure his name, but Mr. Wolf, a representative American lawmaker, basically presented this amendment law where it's called the Wolf Law, where the Chinese and the Americans can't explore space together. The Americans can't use government money to work with the Chinese to explore space. Basically, that's what it is. You might also remember that the Chinese was for a very long time blocked from using the International Space Station. The Chinese figured, listen, we can build our own, so they did. And now the International Space Station looks like a jumping castle against the Chinese space station, in my opinion. The Chinese then started to create their own rockets, their own spaceships. Luckily, they don't leak helium like Boeing does. But in any way, so they do the successful space exploration missions at this moment, recovering soil and all this very important information for us as a globe from outer space. The Americans are very butthurt about this, but it's their own fault because of this Wolf Amendment law thing they installed back in 2011. You see, the Chinese, you might ask, what is the Chinese going to do with the soil and the rock now? Well, you might remember they've been to the near side of the moon. They collected some lunar soil and rock and all that kind of stuff, same as this one. And they actually shared it with the world. They did some investigation. They got some valuable information. This time, they're going to see what information and data they can get from these samples to look deeper into the history of the moon. Now, that is very important to understand the history of the moon, to actually go into the future and explore the moon, right? So that is what the Chinese are doing. The next space mission for the Chinese will be to land on the South Pole on the moon, which is a very, very important mission, because you see, on the far side of the moon, it doesn't look the same as on the near side of the moon. There they will look for ice in these craters. You see, on the near side of the moon, there's a lot of lava activity that washed away all these craters and everything happening on the near side of the moon, which doesn't take place on the far side of the moon. So they believe they will find some ice, which then will lead them to investigate some sort of life or what we can do in the future on the moon as a planet. So that's very important. And then I just want to end off this video by saying that in 2030, the Chinese will send they will start sending people to the moon, like humans, to land on the moon. The Chinese technology that you see here is the most advanced technology that no other country has, and they are not ready yet to land people on the moon. So that makes one wonder about the 1969 moon landing. You see, NASA and the Americans are still figuring out how to build spacesuits in 2024 for their astronauts. We see astronauts being stranded in the International Space Station, where their Boeing aircrafts are leaking helium left, right, and center. And you see, I have another question, actually, before we stop. I have another question. Why don't America share their soil they claim they got back in the day with the Chinese? I think they can't, because there aren't any soil they collected from the moon, apart from maybe Nevada desert, I don't know. What happened to their technology? They've been on the moon 1969. What happened to that technology? What happened to all the evidence that they actually landed on the moon? It makes one wonder, really. I think this whole Chang-e or Chang-e Space missions is very clear that the Chinese technology we have today is the best, and they are not ready to send humans to the moon. So I'm going to leave you with that thought. I'm not going to make any statements, but I'm going to leave it to you. I think the Chinese are exposing the lies from back in the day from America and NASA. And I just want to make also one more thing clear, that the Chinese want to work with the globe by exploring the space and the moon and all this kind of stuff. It is the Americans that installed this Wolf law, amendment law thing, and it's the Americans that don't want to work with China on their space exploration, because you see, they understand they can never have the technology that China has. They will lose face on the world stage, and that is what it's all about. But yeah, big up to China. Another great accomplishment for this country. I can't wait to see what they find in these samples. It's over 2 kilograms of samples. And I can't wait to see what China has got planned for us next, to learn more about space, the truth about space. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.